Thanks for watching my short film where I just teased the idea that UAP physics was demonstrated for the first time in Israel's defense of the incoming Iraq missile strike. At first, for you, I didn't really want to tell you everything that I know. To actually describe to you the type of advanced technology that was actually used. But today, being older and foolish and taking a bit of a risk, I am prepared to tell you what I think is really going on. As a legal disclaimer, I have to say everything I'm about to tell you is my humble opinion, and everything I'm going to share with you comes from unclassified documents. The fog of war hides the truth. So we've all heard this story. Brave pilots flew over Germany, looked down and pressed bombs away. That's just not true. All mass bombings actually used highly technological advanced targeting radar beams to drop their bombs. And the US used the very flawed but very secret Norden bomb sight that they promised to die for to stop that secret technology falling into enemy hands. Nothing changes. This week we were told another lie. That brave men and women flying jet fighters shot down the Iranian cruise missiles and drones. No, they didn't. Can you answer me this? Which US Air Force wing was actually deployed? How many RAF fighters were actually flying over the border of Iran? I think the answer is probably very few, if any, because they weren't needed. The other public lie that we were being told by people being economical with the truth is that amazing figure of 99% of Iranian incoming missiles were shot down. They really blew that PR exercise. 99% doesn't make any sense. What they were trying to tell you was 100% of missiles were shot down before they even reached Israel. No missiles, no drones ever left the border of Iran. So let's look at the evidence. How possibly could a weapon system achieve a 100% kill rate? The weapon system they used this week has been in development for over 70 years. It was originally developed in the UK, but today has been made operational by the US Department of Defense. So let's dive into what's really out there and how it might work. So I guess as many things do, it reaches all the way back to Nikola Tesla. A brilliant man, but 50 years ahead of his time. His ideas touched on the physics of today, but he had no idea how they really worked. But some of the concepts of his inventions do work. And it was Tesla's death ray that got this ball rolling. Nikola Tesla tried to sell the vulnerable island of the UK his death ray, but it apparently fell on deaf ears with a lack of political will under the Chamberlain government. But in reality, Britain was really interested and were already researching directed energy weapons of their own. So what did the British government do? They stole Nikola Tesla's death ray plans and sent him packing, given the task of making a death ray work to Robert Watson Watt at a new, very isolated, secret defense laboratory called Orford Ness. Robert Watson Watt failed. He told the UK War Office he lacked the power to actually make Tesla's system work. But a few years later, Germany unwittingly cracked the power problem by focusing multiple continuous wave radar to a single point. Their energy broke down the atmosphere into a ball of subatomic particles, now free and disassociated protons and electrons. The energy in the fourth state of matter, plasma, is enormous. When these plasma balls were initiated, poof, they propagate a shockwave as normal air is ripped apart into a sphere of ionized gas. But it's not self-sustaining. That plasma wants to desperately recombine from the fourth to the third state of matter, normal gas. When the ionized particles recombine, they release vast amounts of energy. The power that ionized them, making them radical free subatomic particles, has to be thrown away when they recombine. Remember, the power of the German radar beam is never lost. Energy isn't created nor destroyed. It's just transferred to another state. That energy during recombination is released as heat and light. Ionized gas recombining from a plasma into normal state releases photons. It's luminous. It needs to chuck away all that excess energy. It's a fusion bomb. Oops, sorry about that. Suddenly my talk today has become a bit of a science lecture. It's just my background. So what happened next? Well, after World War II, German radar was snapped up as spoils of war by Britain and given to a laboratory called Bawdsey to unpick and develop. Their job was actually to work on the power system, to understand how electricity can produce subatomic particles, and whether the unwitting German Foo Fighters could be turned into an advanced weapon. But the scientists at the Bawdsey Radar Lab knew of Robert Watson Watt's power problem, so the UK government built them something. Sizewell A nuclear power station right next to Orford Ness. And the CEGB buried interconnects power systems from Sizewell A to Orford Ness and down to Bawdsey Radar Lab. And a second power line was run to an RAF base called Bentwaters and onto a GPO research station called Adastral House at Martlesham Heath. What their research came up with was a doomsday weapon. A weapon that could be used to send an attacking Soviet army that invaded Western Europe back into the Stone Age. Cobra Mist, pretending to be a radar station. Cobra Mist was probably the largest non-nuclear EMP pulse station on our planet. And here's the evidence for you. Look at this Soviet map of the supposed radar coverage of Cobra Mist. It only covers Holland, Belgium, Western Europe, Finland, Denmark. All places that NATO actually already had radar coverage. The Soviets knew it. It was a system built to zap them if they ever invaded Western Europe. Cobra Mist was funded by SDI, or Star Wars money, long before Ronald Reagan announced it. It was continually tested on aerial targets and out into the North Sea. But thankfully, it was never used in anger. The first time most people heard of Cobra Mist was when it was mysteriously closed down overnight. My humble opinion of what really happened is that there was a deal done between the Soviet Union and NATO. But Britain and the United States understood how it could work. So calling on the help of SRI, Stanford Research, Cobra Mist technology was moved overnight to now US Air Force Bentwaters. They had the power supply, they had the scientists to containerize it and make it portable. But just as the same problem that Robert Watson Watt had, they needed a portable power source. They came up with a design for supercapacitors, small enough to fit in a truck or a container. EMP was now portable. But strangely, during testing of non-nuclear EMP at Bentwaters, they observed some strange phenomenon. It seemed to trigger or unleash UAP manifestations. The highly strange seemed strangely attracted to their subatomic physics. Whenever it was tested, it opened a door into another world. Many witnesses in the Orford Ness area and very much at Rendlesham Forest saw lights in the sky and experienced energy from an unknown source. Could the fundamental power by humans unleashing subatomic particles attract UAP? What were they? Where did they come from? That mystery of the associated effect of non-nuclear EMP opened another door. Could what they saw was going on be a potential new secret physics? The physics of the unknown. If only those strange forces could be understood and harnessed. That research continues today. But the defense shield that we all saw publicly demonstrated this week in Jordan is very real. You and I were both told by a press officer 99% of Iranian missiles and drones were shot down. No, they weren't. The rest were brilliantly stopped by Israel's Iron Dome and Iron Beam. No, they weren't. All the missiles, all the drones, 100% were vaporized over Iran. Although Israel has it, Israel never needed to use their Iron Dome system. What we saw on TV from Jerusalem was a PR exercise. No missiles reached Israel. Physics has always given us an advantage over our enemies. Today, nothing has changed. Physics' secret advantage is only more exotic and less understood by the public. I hope what I've just offered you gives you a bit of an insight over what might be going on. Many of the smaller details of what I've just said, I admit are wrong, but hopefully the principle is correct. You and I need to know what's really going on. The truth is out there. For an even deeper dive into the strange events that occurred at Rendlesham Forest, watch US Air Force retired John Burroughs, James Warrow and myself series, The Weaponization of UAP.